Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health with Sara Banta. I'm a busy wife, mom of 3, and an NA&P certified supplement professional, but that's not all. I'm also the founder of the multi-award-winning Accelerated Health Products, a brand offering innovative, natural, scalar-enhanced supplements to optimize your health. And this podcast is not just a source of information, it's a community. We're all here to learn and grow on our health journeys, regardless of where you are today, me included. And this podcast is the springboard to learning, and the free group coaching on Telegram is where we continue learning together. You can ask your questions. I post tips and tools to deepen your health and keep you motivated along your journey. So here's what you can expect. New episodes every Monday and Wednesday with in-depth health discussions and expert guests, hot topics in the news every Friday to keep things fun, and then of course followed up with the free group coaching on Telegram. So have you thought about detoxing? Well, maybe you're a little worried about being hangry, about biting your spouse's head off because you don't feel good during the process, and you lose all of this water weight only to find out that it's all going to come back and bring back its friends, right? Well, I've created over 10 unique, easy detox cleanses to help you reset your body while feeling great, eating real food, and maybe actually eating more food than you are right now. And there are no detox symptoms, from just getting you pooping with the colon cleanse to the parasite cleanse, the candida cleanse, the accelerated liver flush cleanse, to the big one, the accelerated diet cleanse that gives you a full reset, hormones, weight loss, brain, immune system, everything. If you don't know which one to do, take the detox quiz at SaraBanta.com to find out which one's right for you. And maybe you're not ready for a detox. You just want to start with some supplements. Well, fill out the free protocol on the website, and I will personally put together a protocol for you. Just by taking a few steps forward with your health, you will change your life. And the difference is I'm here every step of the way. Today, I'm super excited. This topic and this person is right up our alley. Joe Hoye, founder of Hoye Fitness and creator of the Midlife Makeover Summit, is dedicated to helping women over 40, that's you, transform their body's health and mindset. As the creator of the Diet Detox Method, he champions sustainable, enjoyable approaches to health and fitness that deliver lasting results. Joe, thank you for joining us. And the key there is something that's enjoyable and sustainable, right? So you have a history, and it's kind of an interesting path to bring you to where you are today, working with women over 40. Why don't you tell people a little bit more about what brought you here?
Yeah, absolutely, Sara. Number one, thank you very much for having me on the show. And so it's kind of a 3-part story as to why this 30-year-old chose to work with women 40, 50, 60, and older. And it really goes back to when I was 13 years old. Growing up in my mom's house, she was my most strong, most consistent role model. And at about the age of 13, she saw that I was starting to go down the bad path. I was starting to hang out with the wrong kids, make the wrong choices, and at the same time also starting to get picked on and bullied a little bit. And so 2 negative things in my life, and being the amazing mom she was, she noticed that and quickly tried to redirect me away from both paths. She did that through trying to get me in the gym. She come home one night and says, "Hey, Joe, I know that homework's done, dinner's done, chores are done. I'm going to head to the gym. I would love it if you came with me." And to me, it made perfect sense, right? I was not super happy. I definitely was not confident. And the people in the gym had what I didn't. They had confidence. They had self-worth. They had the muscles and the body I was after. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to go. And from that day forward, I fell in love with the gym. For 13 to 18, I consistently worked out. I ate as much as I could, but no matter what I did, I couldn't gain weight. For context, I was super tall, super skinny. I was about 5'11", 135 pounds. I graduated high school maybe 5 pounds heavier, so 140. Still getting picked on. I had kind of redirected my path thanks to going to the gym, And now I am pursuing a career in the medical field in college. So with that, I'm having to take courses on anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, nutrition, all the things that create positive change in the body. But at the same time, I'm an 18-year-old boy away from home. So I'm going to start partying. And with that, still going to the gym, doing the right things for nutrition, also treating my body poorly, drinking beer, making dumb choices. And I certainly gained the weight I was after, but unfortunately, I didn't stop where I wanted to. I thought I wanted to be about 180, 190 pounds at my current height. And I got there, but I did not stop. I continued gaining all the way up to about 220, 225 pounds. And so then I had a new problem. I still wasn't confident. I still was unathletic. I still didn't like how I looked, except now, instead of being underweight, I was overweight. And enough was enough. I kicked the partying. I really dialed in my nutrition. Everything I learned in school, I applied to me. And that next semester, when I came home from summer break, everybody said, wow, Joe, what did you do? Because we know that you were skinny, you had no confidence, you wouldn't look us in the eye. We know that you were overweight. The same two things were true. And now you're a different person. You look different, you act different, you present different. Can you help me with that too? And I had enough people ask to where I knew I had something. So I transparently, Sara, thought I wanted to work with people like me, young men that wanted to feel more confident, look better with their shirt off, either lose fat or gain muscle. And I started running these 8-week-long fat loss challenges online. I was advertising on Facebook and Instagram just locally, and I had a ton of people sign up, but I never looked at the names. And then on the very first day of my very first challenge, I opened up my laptop, I opened up Zoom, and all the faces that signed up looking back at me looked a whole lot more like you and my mom than they looked like me. And I said, oh, shoot, what just happened? Like, how did I get this population inside my programs? But what I quickly came to realize was that I naturally drew them in because growing up with my mom as my role model and her friends, I learned to communicate in a way that resonates with them. And so at the end of that first call, we all had a blast. We all had fun. At the end of that first 8 weeks, everybody felt better. Everybody looked better. Everybody could continue on their own and continue getting results. And that was it. I was sold. I was like, I don't care if this is who I didn't think I'd want to work with. This is who I like working with. At the time, I was still working in surgery. I graduated college, got my job in surgery, and I was doing these challenges on the side. But again, getting pushed in this direction inside my career. So my role was a surgical technologist. There was myself and 7 other ladies that did that job. My higher ups thought it would be a great idea to take me, the one male on the team, and stick him inside the OB and GYN-based rooms. And so again, getting pushed in this direction, not my choice. I'm spending 40 hours a week plus on-call emergency surgery with these physicians and surgeons that spent their entire adult career learning about the female body, how it works, and how it functions. So I made use of my time as best I could, showed up to work, did everything I could to help these patients get a great outcome. But at the same time, I'd say, hey, doc, how did this lady get in here? And what could she have done proactively to not be in here? Mm-hmm. And so from that, I was taking that information and applying it to my ladies outside in my fitness challenges. And so now 7 years later, here I am. I mean, we've changed thousands of lives. We have 4 coaches inside the business, and primarily we're only working with women 40 plus, going the complete opposite direction from most weight loss programs, and therefore getting different results.
You know, what's funny is that as a woman myself, just turned 49, they talk about how your 20s, you care what everyone thinks. So your 30s, not so much. By your 40s, you don't care at all, but you are all about yourself, especially us female. And it's my favorite group of women because they don't care. They've become extremely resilient because of kids and elderly parents and spouses and all the things, and being maybe having a job as well. All of these things are on their plate, and they're hard workers. They want to do the right thing. So you tell them the right thing to do, they'll do it and they'll get results. But the problem is they've been told all the wrong things. They're not getting results. They have no energy. They think it's their fault. They think they have no willpower, and it's not. it's a screwed up food system. It's a screwed up mentality, social media, all of that stuff telling us what we're supposed to look like. And you have all of these stressors. Also, let's talk about the fact that stress causes weight gain, and it has nothing to do with the morsels of food that you put in your mouth. So it's a great population, and I love that you tackle the mental side too, as well as the physical and the emotional, and that you're talking about healing the relationship of food with women, because we're a lifetime of what are we supposed to look like. When I was a teenager, I was supposed to be super thin, no muscle, that wafy look. And now we're told that you want the butt. I've got 2 daughters and they want their butt, and they've got a butt, and it's a great thing. And now muscle is a good thing for the younger population, but us older women, it's still like, wait a second, I don't know what I'm supposed to look like. Actually, I just need to feel good, let alone, so your brain is going in 1,000 different directions. So first off, I want to touch on the steps to heal that relationship with food. And then we'll get in the different types of diets, what the myths are around them, why they don't work. But, we have had this lifetime of the food system and what we're supposed to eat, what we're not, non-fat, keto, vegan, paleo, and in the midst of all of it, 70% of our food system is processed now. So we're confused. So how do you heal that relationship with food?
Yeah, so number one, on average, the daily calorie intake for a full-grown woman should probably be between 19 and 2,400 calories, is what studies have shown. However, what I see from the women that come to me, so again, 40, 50, 60 and older, their average calorie intake is closer to 1,200. So on paper, we understand that if you're eating less calories than your body needs, you should be losing weight. If these ladies are eating 1,200 calories, they should have already lost all the weight or should currently be losing weight, but they're not. And number one, you hit the nail on the head earlier. Stress causes weight gain. Eating too little food for too long creates stress. As you create that stress and hold on to it, you gain weight, right? And so we're fighting backwards against multiple forces. So number one, before I can even help somebody lose weight, I need to help them rebuild their metabolism and wake their body up and show their body that calories are fuel, right? They're not meant to be avoided. They're meant to be utilized. And so step one for me is assessing where somebody is calorically, how much are they eating? Step two is going to be assessing where they need to be, where they should be in order to thrive rather than survive. And then step three is to bridge that gap, work them from where they are to where they need to be and show their body that these calories are going to help them feel better, get that energy that you just said they're missing. And that's not always an easy process because very similar to what you said, Sarah, when you were in your 20s, maybe younger, maybe a little bit older, you were taught that you had to be thin and small and that you had to eat small amounts of food. And you're 49 now. You know better. I understand that, but so many of your listeners might not. And I don't blame them because it's something that's been pushed on them every day for decades. Yeah. Right? So we're working against a lot of forces here. But when somebody does realize they can eat more and the scale's not going to go up and their body might actually reshape in a positive way and they're going to wake up in a better mood with more energy, that's when things get really easy and really enjoyable.
So how do you get your women to trust you? Because for decades, they don't trust people like you. I just was talking to someone that eats maybe 1,000 calories a day, but she walks 8 miles a day. She does her Pilates. And so there is that exercise more, eat less, and eventually the bank is empty and you're bankrupt, right? And there's no more money in the account. So you're not going to go to zero. You're not going to go to 0 pounds. Eventually your body's going to say, hey, I need to survive. We're going to kick in those stress hormones, the reverse T3, shut down the metabolism, store as much fat as we can because we don't know when we're going to be fed. But so now the person's like, well, Joe, my metabolism isn't like all the other women you're talking about. I can't do what you're telling me to do. How do you get them to trust you?
Yeah, that was really hard 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when I had 0, 20, 100 testimonials. It's gotten easier now. I mean, we've changed over 1,000 lives. And so I can tell story after story of Jess and Teresa and Clarissa that were very similar to what you just described, right? They were eating, I mean, God, Client S, because those names I just made up, nobody's going to get mad because those are fake names. But Client S was eating 700 calories when she came to me. She was going to the gym 6 days a week, very similar to the persona that you just described. And no, her metabolism could not handle, and her body could not handle going to the 2,000 calories a day that she needed, right? If we went from 700 to 2,000, I guarantee you she would gain fat. But if we worked there slowly, and we remove the stress from excess exercise, and we recover better, and we slow down, then the body will start to respond in positive ways, but it's not going to happen overnight. And so oftentimes what I'll say is I can't guarantee you what happens in a week or in 2 weeks. Some people's bodies, as they eat more food, feels better and will release inflammation, and the scale will go down. Some people's bodies will simply maintain. You'll eat more food, you'll see no change physically, but mentally and internally you will feel better. And then some people, these are the unlucky ones, they're going to gain 5 pounds during this process. So instead of losing the 50 pounds that they came to me wanting to do, they now need to lose 55. But I level with them. And I express this right up front because I never want to mislead people. Say, hey, you know what? You might gain 5 pounds. And so now we have to lose 55 together. But if you could lose 55 pounds permanently and live where you want to live, would you be okay with a short-term temporary 5-pound scale gain? And when we put it that way and we're completely transparent, the answer is obvious. Yes, I would be okay with another 5 pounds because I've gained 5 pounds 10 times now, temporarily, if you can help me lose it all and keep it off for the rest of my life. And by the way, make that weight loss fat loss, not muscle loss, and make sure I feel good during and after the process.
Right, and that is a huge key. I actually am about to be working with a company with body composition scales, not the regular scales, because I personally have seen the scale go up and then do a body composition and actually see my fat go down and my muscle go up. So it was what I should want, but when you see just that number, you wonder what's really going on. And that's something that, another thing for the last few decades, women just look at that scale, and that scale's made up of water. It's made up of PMS weight. It's made up of the moon cycle. The full moon and the new moon can make you constipated and retain water. It could be that you actually lifted weights and your muscles are inflamed and retaining a little extra juice to repair. There's so many things. There's the crackers that you ate late at night that are holding on to some extra water, and it's not fat. So that is something else that we need to ditch. But that relationship with food. So you're talking about essentially reverse dieting, correct? As far as
exactly
the way you're working with women. I'm assuming the foods are whole foods and not necessarily any processed foods, to help the body trust true nutrition. But with that, the relationship, the mental part, you talked about the fact that, are you okay with gaining an extra 5 pounds to lose the 55? But how do you connect the process of, I'm looking at this plate of food, it's way more than I used to eat. I'm looking at it not as the enemy, but as fuel for my immune system, my strength, my energy, my relationships, my hormones, which is a thing that now over 40, us women have to really consider when we didn't have to before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go back to one thing you said real quick. We are, of course, really prioritizing whole foods. There's a big difference between eating 1,900 calories worth of high quality meats or vegetables versus 1,900 calories of Twinkies and Swiss rolls, right? They're just not the same. Nobody can argue that. At the same time, I do want people to be people. So I want people to enjoy largely whole foods, real foods, natural foods. But sometimes, if it's my birthday, I'm going to go get a damn ice cream sundae. And if it's my client's birthday, I want them to have one too if that's what they want. But afterwards, I want them to get back on track. And what I find oftentimes is that allowing that makes it so they actually have less processed foods. Because when you're not constantly restricting yourself and then punishing yourself because you didn't restrict yourself, you feel better. And when you feel better, you're more in line with what you want. And when that happens, you just do the things that create the results. Now I got completely off track and I forgot your question.
As far as how you change that relationship with actually looking at that food and saying, this is good for me. This is fuel. This is for my hormones, my immune system, my strength, not the enemy.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, right? Because like we said, for so long, we've been taught that too much food is the enemy and carbs are the enemy. And a lot of times it's just trusting the process. It's showing what has helped other ladies in their position before, explaining that, look, you're really not that different. And if you can give me 7 days, 14 days of trust, you will see this for yourself. And it is scary. But again, we're not jumping from 700 calories up to 19. We're jumping from 700 maybe up to 850. And when we get to that 850 and nothing changes, they say, wow, he was right. Maybe I can eat a little bit more. And then when you go from that 850 up to 1100, the same thing's true. And by the time we get to 11, 13, 1400 calories, they're feeling better, they're looking different, and that trust is there. And so once we build that foundation of trust, it's much easier to make more changes later on.
Right. And for you women listening, I would challenge you to actually look at some of the other factors, not just the scale when you are increasing the calories and the protein, hopefully, is how's your hair feel? How does your skin look? How is the texture of your skin? How do you sleep? How are you waking up? What is your energy like in the gym or on that walk that you normally do and you're exhausted? To take into all of these other factors, not just the scale. I can tell you that as a woman, there was the intermittent fasting fad and still is a little bit, but I was easily, it took no effort for me to get down to one meal a day. I actually had to force myself when I started to eat a second and third meal a day. I had to force myself because the appetite wasn't there. When I did, and when I started increasing my calories, my metabolism went up. When you have more money in the bank, you're going to spend more money. When there's no money in the bank, you're not going to spend any money. So I am living proof that happened. And I am actually in a process right now where I am continually increasing my caloric intake, hoping to gain muscle and to move in that direction. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've got to up the calories again. I've got to up the calories again. And my energy's great. So the other thing that I want to touch on is that I've got 2 young daughters. They're athletes. They can work out, or they're forced to work out for their teams up to 4 or 5 hours a day. Now, if I were to try to do that as a 40 plus woman, my adrenals would go kaput, my hormones would be on the floor, and I would never have energy. So can you talk a little bit about how we need to look at exercise differently in this perimenopause and menopausal stage?
Yes, I love that. So number one, we have to understand that all exercise actually makes us worse, right? When we do cardio, when we strength train specifically, we're creating these micro tears in our muscles. And I mean, if we look at what's happening, we're tearing our muscles, we're breaking our body down. Now, the only thing that creates this positive effect from exercise is when we pair it with recovery, right? And so we understand now exercise makes us worse. Recovery paired with exercise makes us better. But if all we do is exercise, all we do is make ourselves worse. And so if you are exercising more than you're recovering, all you're doing is making yourself worse little by little and digging yourself a hole. Now, the next thing we need to understand specifically for women 40, 50, 60 is that at the age of 30, you started to get and receive compound interest that works against you negatively, right? You started to lose muscle mass annually. And Sara, like you've alluded to a couple of times now, muscle allows us more food freedoms because muscle, in your currency analogy, is very expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
It costs a lot of calories or a lot of dollars to keep on our body. And as we build more, it costs more. It costs more calories. So if you're losing muscle every year, you're spending less and less and less. Now, at the age of 40, you're losing 1% of your muscle a year. At the age of 50, that doubles. Now you're losing 2%. And at the age of 60, that doubles again. And now you're losing 4%. Not only is it necessary, or a good idea rather, to be strength training or resistance training, but it's necessary. Because if not, you're going to lose your metabolic health. You're going to lose your calories and your food freedoms. And then you're going to be forced to eat that 1,200 calories unless you want to gain weight. And then, again, before we get into weight loss, we need to rebuild the muscle you've lost to increase your calorie intake. And then we can dive into a deficit from there.
Well, if your scale is staying the same as you're getting older, that obviously means your fat is going up because your muscle's going down if you're not strength training. So, we see this a lot with the Ozempic crowd now. And does Ozempic actually cause muscle loss? Not necessarily. It's the fact that people are just not eating. So then they're not focusing on eating protein and they're not strength training. They're just seeing their body shrink. Then they get off the drug and then they start expanding again and it's all fat and it's no muscle. And then you're wondering why your metabolism has slowed down even more. Well, you've lost that metabolic burn from the muscle and you've slowed down your metabolism from just a low calorie diet on these drugs. So that's just not to say don't use them or use them, whatever, but that's just an example of in an extreme of what's happening with the body after 40. And I tell my daughters all the time, I'm like, keep that expensive muscle.
Yes.
You have no idea how lucky you are. And keep feeding in that protein and, focusing on the whole foods. And they are not on low carb diets. They focus on that whole foods as much as possible. So with that, I want to get into some of the common diets. You can talk about the vegan diet, the carnivore diet, the keto diet, the low calorie diet, whatever it is. What are the pros and cons, or maybe they're cons to all of them? And what do you promote?
Yeah, I think that for the most part, all of those are cons because this is speaking for me, nobody else. But I couldn't stick to any of those for life. And if somebody wants to create a result, I'm assuming they don't just want to create a result for a short time period. They want to create a result for life. And if you're going to do that, you should probably do it through a method you can stick to and that you enjoy for the rest of your life. And so if you can't eat carbs forever, but you really like sweet potatoes, terrible idea. If you can't eat meat again, but you really like ribeye, awful idea. So we should probably find a way to simply do the things you enjoy and get the outcome you want. And so again, the whole diet detox comes to mind of detoxifying your body from what diets are putting on you, mentally and physically. So in my program, the little catchphrase I have is that the best diet is the one that works for you, right? I want people eating whole, real foods 80% of the time. I want them enjoying something less than perfect every once in a while. And I don't want them feeling restricted from anything 100%. At the same time, I do think that almost any diet can work, but you need to become the person that gets the results, right? And so sometimes it's not even the diet's fault. It is the false beliefs we have in ourselves, the limiting stories that we put on ourselves, the mental obstacles that we need to overcome. And addressing what's inside here in our mindset oftentimes is a massive unlock for creating long-term results as well.
Absolutely. The placebo effect of a program or a supplement or, an exercise is so powerful. And, you know, when I talk to my customers about their supplement intake, I talk about the fact that they need to be intentional when they're taking their supplements. Just don't take a handful of supplements and throw them back. You've got to look at it one, you know, this is for my liver, and I'm thinking about it going to my liver and cleansing my liver and putting intention behind that. And it goes the same for what food you're putting in your mouth, what you're doing in the gym or on a walk or whatever. I mean, that's why every religion prays before they eat. Let's get our parasympathetic system intact so that we can rest and digest our food. And that stress factor is so big for us women over 40. Not just the fact that we want to make physical changes, but like I mentioned, you've got the husband, you've got the job, you've got the kids, you've got the aging parents. And so let's talk about that stress factor, and maybe we need to be detoxing from that as well. But how is that inhibiting our results?
Just high amounts of stress? Well, gosh, I mean, if we don't slow down, we're never present. If we're never present, we're not even paying attention to what we put in our mouth, number one, right? So that, I mean, I know we've spoken a lot about undereating, but sometimes that can lead to overeating. The high cortisol is simply, like you said in the beginning, just going to lead to weight gain. Or if it's not leading to weight gain, it is going to lead to weight loss resistance, right? And so, yeah, I think supplements in the right way are huge, right? And that's why I'm really interested in your supplement line, because it sounds like you've done the research, you figured out what's needed for what applications and when to use them, which is huge, right? Because like you said, I'm a massive advocate for not just buying every supplement on the market and taking it, because it's not going to do anything. But when you do the research, or if you have your quiz that you mentioned in the beginning, and we have a logical reason to take something, I see a clear path as to why that makes sense.
Right. Well, a lot of us women have gotten through this process of decades of restriction and over cardio and all of that. We've lost our mitochondrial health. We've lost our ATP. We don't even have the energy to go after the right diet and the right exercise program that you're telling us to do, because we just don't feel like we can get off the floor. We're just exhausted. So my goal is to give people that energy so that they say, okay, I can do this. And something that you talk a lot about is detox. And that's something that I'm super passionate about, because if your body is full of toxins, and in this modern world, everyone is, I don't care who you are, the fat cells are overstuffed with toxins. Fat cells are not necessarily because you ate a whole bunch of fat. They're full of the radiation and the fluoride from the water and the processed foods, the artificial ingredients, where the body doesn't know what to do with it, so it stuffs it in the fat cells. And when you detox, the body says, oh, now I have the ability to release those fat cells because I don't need to hold on to those toxins. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of detox, especially as we're getting older? We've been on the earth longer than our children, so we're carrying a lot more toxins, and we're in this generation where we've been hit so hard compared to our grandparents and our parents' generation.
Yeah, so to be honest, that's actually not, even though contrary to our name, Diet Detox, that's not really something that we focus a ton on and that I have a ton of education on. When I say detox in my world, I mean detoxify your body from the damage of past diets. But to go into that is not my specialty, and so I don't want to speak on it and be somebody that pollutes this industry with a false narrative.
I love that, and thank you for that. With the diet detox, let's talk about how these diets, let's get back to the diets, how they screw up your metabolism, your gut health, and your hormone health. We can get away with a lot as younger women with our hormones, but as we get older, there's not that leeway.
Yeah, you know what I find is that for the younger women And I mean, I'm 30 and I still feel young, so I'm going to classify these 30-year-old women in there. I find that I almost might disagree, right? I don't think that they are getting away with it like many think. I just think they aren't seeing the negative results yet because that compound interest hasn't compounded on itself for long enough. But the muscle loss is there. It's just so small that it's inevident right now. So we need to start working at it sooner. And it's actually why I've made a slight transition in this past month or two of a reactive coaching model, right? What we've talked about right now and for the past 30 or so minutes is reacting to the fact that muscle loss has happened. And so I'm still giving a lot of attention to our clients 40, 50, 60 and our audience 40, 50, 60 and older. But at the same time, I want to help people like your daughters, Sara, understand that, look, if you don't do something now, you will be where we've spoken about for the past 30 minutes. And so I want to make sure that, just like you said, they stay in the gym, but they're not doing 5 hours of exercise 5 days a week, right? We're doing it right. We're looking immediately into how they look and feel, but long-term into how they're going to look, feel, and age so that when they're 70, 80, and 90, they're independent and they can also teach their generation that comes after them, what's right as well.
So something that I don't know if you talk about, but when a female, especially for females, not just, men too, but not as much, women have feel weaker. They feel like they're inferior. That's what we've been told. That's kind of, it takes a lot of work to have confidence as a woman, especially in the way we look. I see that the stronger physically you are, the stronger you are mentally and emotionally, that you feel a bigger presence, that you feel like you can stand in that boardroom and earn that respect from your coworkers. Whereas if you're small or slight, not so much. It's kind of like that physical manifestation of your emotional and mental well-being and that connection. And that's why I also like when you have the measurements of a body composition scale, so that you're away from just the scale, which is measuring how small you can get, to, oh, look, I'm actually this amazing, strong woman physically. And then you're standing up straighter, you're carrying yourself better. You have that confidence, whether it's just to be a mom in front of your children, your husband, or out in the world.
Yeah, there's something to be said about knowing that you can do things, right? And so I'll just use my wife as an example. She is, and I promise you guys, I'm not biased here. I think that she is physically the strongest girl I've ever met in my life. And her confidence doesn't just come from that. She's done a lot of mental exploration as well. But I can promise you that a fair bit of her confidence does come from that. It does come from knowing that, look, if I need to do something and Joe's not home, it doesn't matter. I'm doing it. Or if my mom needs help carrying something up the stairs, we don't need to wait for her husband, my stepfather, to come home. We're doing it, right? And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a male or a female. That will build confidence in yourself, right? But at the same time, we also do need to explore mentally. And there's a practice, I'm not sure if I can explain this simply, that we do with our clients. But I think that there's the current version of everybody, right? The way that we act right now, the way that we feel, the way that we see ourselves, the things that we have. And then I think that in the future, there's a version of us that already exists that has everything we want. But in order to bridge that gap, to go from the little version of us that we are currently to the big version of where we want to be, we need to determine what that bigger version is in order to have what they want. And so what I do is I outline for my clients where they are now and what they do. And then I outline where they want to be. Then I ask them, okay, great. Well, if you had all those things, how do you think you would act? How do you think you would show up? How do you think you would dress? What do you think you would say? Would you speak differently? And oftentimes we can uncover that the same exact person would in fact act completely different. And so very quickly we can say, okay, well, if you want those things, we need to start acting like it today. And in as little as a few days. If they take that practice seriously, they show up, look, and act like a completely different person. And that also builds massive confidence.
Right. And guess what that does to your metabolism? It actually fires it up, right? Because you are telling yourself, I'm going to do all of these things. I'm going to eat more food. I'm going to exercise and build muscle. That way I need to increase my metabolic rate, and your brain just starts working with you, and it's not a fight, an inner battle. Joe, what did we not cover today that you absolutely want to make sure that we hit?
I think we did great. I think we just wrapped it up with a little taste of how we need to step into the version of us that gets and keeps the results that we want. There's a whole lot more that comes with that. I oftentimes like to talk about the 4 dimensions of being inside of every single person and helping people evolve that way too. It's a whole lot less nutrition talk and exercise talk. It's a whole lot more mental game, but it does make a difference. And those differences, they don't just reflect inside a body. They reflect inside your mind, inside your relationships with your partner, your coworkers, your friends and family, and they show up at work too. And so oftentimes it's hard to share what I do, right? I'm the diet detox guy. I'm the anti-diet guy. But at the same time, I'm just the guy that wants to see you live your best freaking life. And I think that everybody, no matter your age, has that in them and can get there no matter what.
I love it. Well, tell people where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me, Joe Hoye. I'm very searchable. Joe.dietdetox on Instagram. And then for anybody interested in or wondering right now, hey, am I that person that Joe and Sara were talking about? Do I actually need to eat more food in order to change how my body looks and feels? I made a quiz, very similar to your detox quiz by the sounds of it, but it's just quiz.hoyefit.com. So HOYEFIT.com. And that's going to tell you if you do in fact need to eat more, and if not, what is the right choice for you. So obviously that's free. It's going to take about 2 minutes. It'll point you in the right direction, tell you where you're at. And I just hope that can help.
Thank you so much, Joe. And your work is so needed in our world today with everything that's going on. So appreciate your work.
Thank you, Sara.
Well, I love what Joe was talking about. We get ourselves into these positions where we have no energy because we're not fueling our body. And then we mentally are suffering. Our hormones are suffering. Our hair's falling out. We're bloated, probably constipated. Well, guess what? Your cellular health is dying. Your mitochondria are suffering. Your ATP is low. So what I like to tell people in this position is let's get you feeling good so that you have the strength and willpower to make the changes that Joe was talking about. Number 1, acceleradine iodine. Iodine, we are deficient. Most people are deficient, and you need that iodine to increase that ATP in the mitochondria, in the cells. That is your cellular energy. That is your energy to get out of bed, to deal with your husband, to help with your elderly parents, to go to work, to let your brain work, get rid of the brain fog, and it helps with the hormonal balance. But that cellular energy is so important. Iodine helps with that cell membrane, the brain of every single cell. That is made up of fat and iodine. So if you don't have enough iodine, you can't get the toxins that we were talking about out of the cells and the nutrients from that great whole food that you're eating into the cells to let your body run the way it needs to. And then outside the cells, acceleradine iodine helps balance the hormones, cleanses the blood so the liver can do its job. And our livers are under attack. Our livers are having to process the artificial sweeteners, the GMOs, the glyphosate, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine, the radiation, the excess estrogens in our environment. Our livers are under attack. So that's where the accelerated liver care comes in. That is going to help detox, restore, and rebuild your liver. Over 45% of you have fatty liver disease. You don't have to be an alcoholic to have fatty liver disease anymore. You could actually be a child. One of the 25% of our children have fatty liver disease, which is not supposed to be a children's disease. So with that being said, you've got to love your liver, and the accelerated liver care is also going to improve that fat burning and the assimilation of those awesome amino acids from the protein that you're taking in. You want to focus on that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That is what is going to increase the metabolism, help with the muscle building, and let your body release the fat. But you got to have your liver working for your protein assimilation to work, for your fat burning to work, and your body to use that fuel as energy. Lastly, I just want to mention the new accelerated aminos. It is way beyond an amino acid supplement. It's twice as powerful, and that's why you get a lot more for your money. But it's the essential amino acids plus HMB and OKG and some other ingredients that help prevent that muscle breakdown. So Joe was talking about in exercise that you actually break down your muscle and need time to repair it. Well, wouldn't it be awesome if you never broke it down? Well, that's what the extra ingredients do. And us women over 40 need more protein than any other time in our life. We tend to eat less. So this is a great way to get that extra protein in your body, because I know a lot of you are not getting that 1 gram of protein in per pound of body weight, and it's hard to do. So it is a supplement. It is not your main source of protein, but it is to supplement your diet. You also can use accelerated thyroid to help boost your thyroid health. Most women in menopause are suffering from hypothyroidism, and that's why they're looking to the Ozempics or other things to lose weight, but it could be just your thyroid. So between the acceleradine iodine, which is needed for thyroid health, the accelerated thyroid, that's your 1-2 punch for boosting that thyroid health, which also affects your hormones, your adrenals, your brain, your heart. Did you know high cholesterol is actually a symptom of hypothyroidism? So all of these things work together. And this is where I was telling Joe that I like to give you the tools to make you feel the energy, so then you can actually do the things that you're wanting to do, to have that willpower. Because you can't have any willpower if you got no money in the bank, and if you don't have the power inside of you. So thanks for listening. Our discussion does not have to stop here. I know it can be confusing in the supplement world, and there's a total junk part of the supplement world that you can't trust, and I get it. Well, I'm here to help. You can start by getting your free supplement protocol. Just head to SaraBantaHealth.com, complete the form, and I will personally put together a protocol for you. Follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products, and join the free group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. I answer your questions, I post insights, and keep you moving forward each day. Find this podcast and all of my podcasts at Accelerated Health with Sara Banta on Spotify, Apple, Roku, Amazon, YouTube, E360, iHeartRadio, and over 100 different platforms. And share this podcast with your friends, your family. Not only will it help the algorithms so that I'm able to get better guests to help you learn from better experts. And also you will be helping me spread the word. You can also use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off site-wide. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.